Guaranteed to keep money local. So I just wanted to share a letter with each of you. The letter describes the fact that in 2016 we'll be working on developing anchor communities in Ulster and Dutchess County. And that means communities that already have a high concentration of current members in Rosendale. There's 22 members in Rosendale now. And going forward, we'll be spending most of our resources and time in anchor communities. So we expect 3 to come online in 2016. But we'll be focusing on 7 towns. So because Rosendale is a potential anchor community, that means we'll create a map of Rosendale if the town qualifies. And the map will show the whole town, where all the current members are, what the town's plans are, how to use them, how to earn and spend them. And our staff time will be dedicated to the anchor communities. So we'll be doing more member meetings in those towns and working one-on-one with members so they understand how to use the current. Since starting over 2 years ago, 148,000 currents have exchanged hands. So thanks. We've achieved proof of concept during the beta test phase, and now we're launching at scale. And the qualifications for an anchor community are 5 core businesses where everyone can spend currents, 20 premium businesses where almost everyone can spend currents, like advertising, for example, or graphic design. Core businesses are typically food or shelter, fuel, and then 50 sole practitioners, individuals who own businesses, and 50 employees, so employees of the companies that are members. And the last component is municipal support, either the town becoming a current member or financial support for economic development. So my letter describes what I've just explained. The brochure explains how the current works, and I would love the opportunity to come back and do a full presentation in the future. Thank you. Would that be at a workshop meeting, a presentation?
Could be.
Yeah, and I had also suggested to go to the Economic Development Commission.
Any
So I'd be
questions?
really interested.
Yeah.
First Monday of the month.
You're the liaison? Okay, great. Just Monday of the month.
What are the other anchors? How many other anchors are there?
We're trying to have 3 in 2016, so we're focusing on Kingston, Rosendale, Woodstock, Rhinebeck, Redhook, and Beacon. All towns that have members already and towns that would embrace the concept like this.
Of course, Rosendale is rocking it.
Yes. In the letter, I think it says that out of the 148,000 currents, over 40,000 have flowed in Rosendale. Would you like it?
I would.
Any other questions?
Look forward to reading it. Thanks for coming, and it's exciting to hear that Rosendale's doing well.
Yeah.
Well, I have one other question. When is your next event? Your
The demonstrations that we do?
yes.
We're planning a spring event with Philly's Bridge Farm in New Paltz. It's going to be a seed and plant party, and Philly's Bridge Farm just came on as a member. So now we're trying to sign up restaurants in New Paltz and Gardner to create a real farm-to-table connection. And Hudson Valley Seed Library is also a member. So members that are involved, or Hudson Valley Vertical Farms, we're going to invite everyone to collaborate and teach about food and plant.
Which is based in Tilson.
Vertical Farms? Mm-hmm. Town of Rosendale, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Chris, I'll be announcing soon in my announcements, but I'm sure that you received the email. The Chamber is doing a networking event next Wednesday.
Nice.
So if you haven't received it, you check their website, and you can propose that you want to present something there if you're a member.
Yeah, I did a presentation to the Chamber last year, but I could do another one because now that we're launching at scale, there's more exciting news to report.
So yes, Wednesday the 17th.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
But it's Friday the 12th at Sky Lake from 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. 11 to
This Friday?
That's right. And it's a sliding scale. Very, very inexpensive for farmer folk.
Are you emailing people because Brian Palmer, a member of our community, should be in this farmer.
And speaking of farmers, just a reminder that this Sunday is the indoor farmers market from 9 to 2 at the rec center. Not to be missed. Get a month's worth of food.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for this month. We'll vote Councilman Hughes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Esper,
Yes.
Councilman Bisbowski,
Yes.
Councilwoman Party,
Yes.
Supervisor Walsh. Yes. Councilman Bisbowski, would you like to start with committee reports?
Sure. Give the rest of the information for the chamber event first. So Rosendale Chamber of Commerce is having their winter networking event Wednesday, February 17th, 5 to 7. $15 members, $20 for future members. It will be held at Matsu Japanese Restaurant here at the Bridge Plaza. And there will be hors d'oeuvres, complimentary hors d'oeuvres, and a cash bar.
That's February 19th at what time?
February 17th.
Oh, 7th, I'm sorry.
Wednesday, February 17th, 5 p.m. till 7 p.m. And members are invited to give presentations at networking events, but email your proposal to them ahead of time. For the Justice Court, I reviewed books for January. For both Justices Pate and Hornbeck. I reviewed Comptroller's Report, the Fines Receipt Book, the Fines Bank Statement, the Bail Receipt Book, and the Bail Bank Statement, and all the numbers matched. Also, just to share some good news from the court and the capable clerks at our court. We're awarded a JCAP grant of $11,600, which is going to be applied toward safety concerns and upgrades in the room. At the transfer station, we are filing our yearly reports. I was working with staff to complete those this past week.
I signed it.
Okay, great. I'll spare everybody the details of that, but just read the January report. So for January, we took in $234 in recycling. After paying the Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency's fees of $3,172.57, we were left with a positive balance of $2,863.43 taken in the transfer station. Also, I'm now getting the transfer station permits. So Stacy reports the numbers for the clerk's office in terms of money that came in. But just so I'm curious, in January we sold 59 full permits, 6 limited permits, 1 extra day permit, or extra permit, 3 one-day passes, and no business passes. Environmental Commission will be looking for some volunteers for the Environmental Commission. They are finishing off the carbon footprint inventory.
Carbon emissions.
Carbon emissions inventory, and hope to have a full report on that in the next month. And I think that's all I have for the environmental question. So that's it for me.
And we've done the final paperwork to decommission commission those lights, the street lights, so hopefully we'll be
Oh, yeah.
seeing something happening with that, but everything's been sent to Central Hudson to get those two commissions, so that was a.
So that was a project started with the Environmental Commission, that came before the full town, police department, the highway department,
Yeah.
and now it's gonna save a few money.
So, yeah, and we've reduced our street lighting inventory stock by 10%.
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm just thinking, I just wondered if we know how many solar collections, solar systems we've got in the area. 'Cause they're
That's a-
growing.
So that's a really good question.
And they are growing, and
uh,
they're,
Right, yes, that's a very good question.
That's a
And,
building department question.
oh, you
Well,
would have, a- right.
Yeah, I can get the tally, but I do know that 2 new permits were issued this month, or the month of January for residential rooftop solar. And then there's more to talk about that when it comes to my committee
Okay.
report.
and so many of these companies are coming into the state, calling around people like us that have land and
Yeah.
checking in on what we're doing, because we have our own people.
Who is, do you know the names of the companies
You know,
that called you?
Stephen will probably remember better than I do, but I know that so many, we have a number of calls, and they're coming, kind of, when they're in the middle of something.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of noting, wow, this is stepping up.
So, yeah, I'm gonna talk about this in a little bit too, but there's a reason for that.
Yes.
I know.
Okay. Councilman, Barry, you want to do your reports?
Yes. So the Economic Development Commission has 2 new members that visited preemptively, or they're officially on the board. They're very enthusiastic, working with our leader, Amber Kelly, to work on the snow alert and getting flyers out to everyone, and possibly talking about addressing with Bob Gallagher over at the Highway Department about a state of emergency if we get snows maybe this year that are comparable to some of the snows we had last year. What do we do? And that was brought up by a local resident who lived in Kingston at one point, and they had a system in place, including like robocalling that would alert everyone to get your cars off the street and alert people about what was going to happen if there was a tree down on a main exit from a certain neighborhood or something like that. So that was kind of interesting, and we'll be doing some research on that. And I have an update from the food pantry that they realized that they had more funds available than they initially thought. But they had already started working with the Chamber of Commerce to do an upgrade on the shed that they store food in, because they have to split it in the cold weather or in the extreme temperatures, keeping things up at the rec center, which is a little complicated for their staff. They're still looking for volunteers, especially to supplement pickups when they pick up from the food hub, which is Tuesday mornings once or twice a month. And the zoning board has 2 permits for variances that should be approved, hopefully, at the next meeting, if everything goes well.
Did you have any funds come in from zoning?
Not that I was told about, but the highway department did bring in $80 in funds, and that's kind of all I have.
Okay, so when you do your report, that's one of the things that is required, that we have the money that department working, so that's important, to try to get that information. Okay. As far as the work that I did get something passed on to me to take a look at from looks like some stuff that you guys are working on for the economic development. I will say some of it definitely needs some tweaking, but I think it's a good start to get, look at these things. Even though we don't have the same as Kingston, where Kingston has many streets that are concerned, I think our concern is about Main Street. But, I would just caution you guys to work closely with Bob about what the laws are so that we come up with something reasonable. And I think the fines need to be more realistic because, we can't you gotta have something similar to what the fines are and other things that we have, so that would be maybe, something that we can look at.
That was the information I was given, that is the fine from the state highway for snow being thrown on the road.
Yeah, well.
So it
I'm
impresses.
thinking about what our police department, if we got a ticket and we had a fine, what would our court enforce? So you're not gonna get enforcement from the courts if you don't have something that's realistic.
What's the state fine?
She's saying it's $1,000.
For throwing snow on the road.
Ken?
What if
Yes,
it's a
Ken.
snowball?
States, just a point of order, with regard to the food pantry, it said that, reported that the food pantry had more money than they realized. We do have a nice chunk of money, and we always know exactly how much we have, so I don't know where that came, that we had more than we realized. But that notwithstanding, we are sitting pretty good, and we're always looking for donations. But we've seen how, the food pantry can go through 2 rounds in about 2 weeks especially,
Right.
and that can definitely drain, so. There is a little, talk about, we got a lot of money, but we don't, and it can go
Right.
so
Goes
quick.
fast, yeah.
And,
Right.
you've seen the numbers too, how they've gone up, and, we're looking to just be there for everybody that needs it, and hopefully those numbers will go down, if they happen.
Right.
Ken, are they using this hub? Are they coming here for food, or are they going other places to pick up the food? When they go and pick
No,
up food?
no, we're using Highland and Kingston still for the food bank.
Okay, I'm just wondering how
It
that
will be
Eventually-
here eventually.
was supposed to.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
this
wondering.
could be used eventually, but
Yeah.
we're going through the food bank right now. But, yeah.
I have a question, to either or both of you. Are volunteers still needed for the food pantry, or?
Absolutely, sure.
They're still, okay.
Yeah, the
Because
staffing end of it, as far as running the pantry on the Monday and the Saturdays, we're pretty good at that, but we always use more. Where we really need the help is pickup. We need people, we have a couple of people that are there constantly to go through and pick up for the food drops.
Well, I asked, and I also wanted to ask about ages, because like my son would be interested in doing it, but he doesn't have a driver's license yet.
Sure.
But I don't know if you have certain ages for that, or it could be.
Anybody's welcome, sure, absolutely.
Okay.
There's always something to do.
Yes.
Whether that be crushing cardboard and, doing the recycling, or packing boxes, or
Okay, great.
unloading boxes and putting them on the shelf. It's
And
constant.
Who does one contact? Who's in charge of the volunteer coordination?
That's Carol.
Carol Beasley is
Oh,
our
okay, all right.
coordinator.
Should we get your report? Should have been one.
Do you want this folder?
No.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so I am the High Falls Water District new liaison, and in the High Falls Water District, although I've
Been switched, but you
been
do.
switched, but I was there for
Yeah.
the quarterly meeting in January, and since I'm off from that liaison. One thing the big thing that's the subject of the meeting, or a lot of the talk this year in the district, is that there are planned shutdowns from the aqueduct for 4 planned shutdowns for 2017, and 2018, and 2019.
In 2020 also.
Oh,
This was
okay.
told this week.
Oh, okay. For upgrades and repairs on the whole system, and the High Falls Water District is the smallest water district that takes water from the aqueduct, but it is pretty far upstream, so the DEP is interested in it going smoothly. And so there were plans, 3 different scenarios drawn out for how to deal with the shutdown. One was to tap these 2 existing old wells. That was deemed a bad idea because they're rusty, inadequate, not maintained, not a good scenario. Another was to actually pipe from the Rosendale water system, pipe along 213 out to High Falls. And that was also deemed really expensive and radical. The next was to have 4 scenarios: to hire a water company, if we know of any, to ship water there, and then that was deemed really expensive. And the 4th option was to actually buy a water truck. And that seems to be what popped up. Bernier and And Larry Ellis did the kind of exhaustive study for us on the scenarios, and it's still in draft. But to buy the truck is $270,000 for a brand new water truck, and DEP is offering to pay for that because it's greatly in their interest for it to go off well. And then when the period is done and the truck is no longer needed, we get to keep the truck.
And it would be their backup water source.
Backup water source, right.
And they'd be purchasing the water from Rosendale.
From Rosendale. So the truck would be used to truck the water daily from
The
Rosendale.
water
I actually
coming
met with
from
them since you met your
Oh, okay.
Is the water
Yeah.
coming from where is it? Where-
From Rosendale Water.
Oh, from our
Yeah, from our-
district?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
It'd be
fantastic.
fine water from the district.
From the district.
We can provide formal
Good.
water that the district is using,
Yeah.
so.
And we're in negotiations with them right now.
Right, so I shouldn't say it's a done deal.
Yeah, right.
We're
Well,
in
water,
negotiations.
that city
Sorry,
premium,
sorry.
you
I
can
guess
have.
the March one came out of the meeting.
When you buy water, well, if they do buy water from the town, is it treated water?
So the deal is that, I want to be clear that DEP and the health departments haven't signed off on this, okay? But it would be really difficult to take the raw water because they have to come over into the area where the still pond is and come over that little bridge. And you got trucking going on all day, for, hours and hours, day, all day long it would be. It would be for that many weeks that you need the water while the shutdown. The truck is just basically driving back and forth all day long. So it's not practical to bring it into where the still pond is. So it would come from probably the hydrant near St. Peter's there on Peter, which is a more realistic area to pull in and be able to fill it and take it from there. So they would be paying for treated water.
Would it have to be treated again?
It wouldn't have to be, but it would probably go through their system because that's the only way to get
Yeah.
it into the system. So, yeah. And one other thing about High Falls, we are looking for a board member for the High Falls Water District. Has to be someone who's in the High Falls Water District, and Rosendale doesn't have a lot of
One of the
residents.
5 people.
Yeah, I think it's around, 45, 50 people in the district, but we're looking for, 2 of them are Marbletown residents and 1 is a Rosendale resident, and then you have a board member from each town. So we really could use a representative from Rosendale to be in there. So if anybody knows anyone that lives in the district, great if we could get someone to take part in that, especially with this happening. We'll have our votes and,
Right, right.
If we have a problem filling that position, Terry is there, right?
And our board member, now Stacy would be there, and she is a voting member of the board. It's not like the other,
Mhm, right.
it's not like the other
Oh.
commissions we have. Our board member that is the liaison is a voting member.
Okay. So Rosendale's
We're represented.
represented.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Terry works for the district. He
Right.
works for the High Falls Board. of
Right,
District.
I was just wondering if he could act, if there was any rule against him also being a member.
Now,
since he's
the
there.
rule is that they have to be a resident of the district, just like
Right,
the
right.
other districts are.
That is about all I have on High Falls. Rosendale Water and Sewer Commission, Commissioners' monthly meeting was January 25th. I attended that, and we did have a quorum. The construction update from Terry, his report was the book plant. The work is ongoing there, it started and it's up and running, underway. We talked about the Main Street construction on the water main schedule. It's still proposed to start in April, the work. It was illuminating for me, and I had thought that the street was going to be just shut down or a blinking light scenario with 1 lane. But it turns out it's going to be a 1-lane. The work will happen on the sidewalk and take up 1 lane, and they'll be crossing over into the 2nd lane. But 1 lane will stay open for traffic. for local traffic only. And then at night, they'll clean up all their work and open it up for full traffic again, for both lanes. So it's not a, wholesale shutdown of the street for those months.
Well, the original proposal was to keep it open.
Right.
And we just felt that was practical, so.
Right.
Now it's gonna just be local traffic.
Right.
But the one thing is, it's supposed to only be like, I think 1,000 feet at a time.
Right.
1,000 feet, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's the strict.
And apparently, this is what I got out of the meeting, is that the detours are not strict. In other words, this, maybe I don't quite have
The
it.
detour is gonna be Springtown Road, coming down, from Tilson, Elting.
Right.
That's a detour.
Right. That's county. And that's a road
That's the one that would be approved.
Right, it's a class that can handle it, supposedly.
It's typically, that's the route usually on the roads goes.
Right. But people will be taking whatever route they want also, other than
Yeah.
the street.
I mean,
so.
they could go Bridgewater Road or
Mhm.
around.
All the way around, right.
There's other ways, but
Right.
that's the, for someone who's driving through town and doesn't know,
Right.
that's the way they'll be directed.
Right.
It'll be a break for Main Street from truck traffic for a little while.
That's true.
But people that have homes or businesses should be aware that, they can enter from either end to get to where they are, If you know that the shutdown is, close to your property, you're gonna wanna go around from whichever direction's easiest,
Right.
while it's happening, but it's gonna shift as it goes.
Right.
So there's gonna be two-way traffic?
There's gonna be two-way traffic, but it's, one lane will only be open, so it'll
Yeah.
be directed.
They're gonna need a flagman then?
Yeah,
Yeah, but.
because they have to cross the road too, they have to do, some of the work is going across the street.
Oh, the laterals.
Yeah.
But don't they usually go under the road, or are they gonna be digging it up?
It's,
Yeah,
but-
they'll be digging it in a channel
Yeah.
per household, per, building as needed.
Well, now, while we're, if you don't mind me asking, while we're on that note, people have the option of hooking up a new lateral or not.
Yes, and
Right.
a letter is going out, actually Terry and I worked on a letter today, and the letter's going out that will direct people that they need to be visiting properties to evaluate everyone's lines. So once that happens and they say, you're a property that should have that replaced, or you're a property that already replaced it, he'll go forward with another meeting that will, say, let's get together with the people whose lines are in, galvanized lines or something like that. So a letter's going out this week that will inform every Main Street resident that they need to schedule a time for the water department to come and take a look at their line.
So the ones that are doing the main would be doing the laterals?
Yes, they're gonna offer a deal to the residents.
So is it the residents or the owners that are going to be
So-
notified? Right.
Property owners.
Property owners are
Right.
the ones responsible.
Is there still a plan for public information?
Yeah, I mean.
The first thing is that Terry has to deal with the people that are,
I know, the
Right,
building,
right.
right, the building, but
Right.
he had talked about it.
Yeah, at the meeting, we talked about in March, so that's pretty soon.
The only reason is that, right, well, the landlords will presumably tell the residents, but just so
oh, the people
everyone knows.
they'll be notified if you're living at that location. I don't know whether, some people pay their own water bill, some don't, but they'll still get notified. About the work that has to be done is gonna be strictly to the old property owner, but as far as what the shutdown means to the residents, that
Right.
people will still get water, that's not something we have to worry about. So we put temporaries in for them.
Right, right. I do not have the financials on Rosendale Water.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't know if they weren't in the packet.
Huh? Okay.
So we'll, I guess, inform the residents of that public meeting. I don't know if we can publicize it on the website and other ways. There's concern, I've heard concern from residents about if they need to save money or get some financing together for a repair. And, I mean, all Terry could say was, it's not gonna be a huge amount of money. Which
That description
sort of
varies. from
Yeah,
person
I
to
think
person.
You are who you are.
Well, when you
Yeah.
compare to what it would cost when we had so many breakdowns where, lines have broken.
Right.
And when you're talking about, almost all of them were not the main, but the laterals, and those
Right.
property owners got hit because you have to dig up the road.
Right.
You have to, repair the sidewalk, you have to replace your line. You have days sometimes of water, water running down the street because the water can't be shut off. And so it costs the district, it costs the property owner a lot more money. So it's definitely in everyone's best interest to take care of this now.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and
It'll cost a lot more, and they're ticking time bombs. They're
Yeah.
gonna break.
right,
Well,
and
some of them, they've been breaking all along, and we've been, dealing with it the last few years, one break after another. We know they're gonna break, so
Right.
people think that I don't have to do it because mine's still intact, it's gonna break.
Mhm.
If they got the older ones that have never been done, they're just a ticking time bomb.
A controlled lateral installation, I had a new one put in for the building behind the shop there, and so it was separate from the old one. And that at that time was about $4,000. That was with everything in your favor. And they bored under the road, they didn't dig across. So,
Now,
no,
they're-
you had to pay for the road boring though, right?
yeah,
Right, and your building set back to it.
well, that was separate. All they did was
Oh, right,
go from
right.
the main to the
To the-
shut-off
the curb, yeah.
along the sidewalk, and then it was another $20-something hundred to get back to the building. But what I'm saying is, it's $4,000 if everything's in your favor.
If
But
you had
if
a-
the
you had a
line
break,
breaks,
It's an
Yeah.
emergency. it's
and
gonna
you've
be
got
a
all
lot
kinds of,
more.
Right,
yeah.
and
Right.
I would think
Then
there would
they-
be
We
savings
know
from
that
doing
the-
it all at once for
Absolutely.
people.
So-
And also, the folks won't be paying for the road cut.
Right.
In other words, you had to pay for the road cut because yours was
Yeah,
Yours was-
well, they dug a hole on one side and dug a hole on the other side of the road and bored through.
Oh, okay. Right.
But still, like I say, I don't know what it cost if
We don't have those numbers. We've asked them to come up with, maybe not sure how they'll do it, maybe it'll be by the foot, something
Mhm.
like that, so that we can say, it'll be by this many
Yeah.
dollars per foot, whatever. But,
I think that's.
part of the project, Jill, do you remember exactly, it goes to from the main to the property line?
The property line, from the main to the property line.
Is part of the project.
Sidewalk area.
Right.
Is going to be
Sidewalk.
part of the project. From the
Mhm.
property line into your meter
Right.
is your responsibility.
Right.
Yes, so we're really paying for
Yeah.
half of it,
That's
you know,
right.
too.
Yeah.
The project is paying for
And
that.
everybody involved will be motivated to get it done quickly and as,
I mean, if
cheaply
someone
as
has an
possible.
issue, we're gonna talk to them.
Right.
We would take this, we
Case
just have
by
to
case
evaluate,
basis.
we have to see what the situation is
Right,
with
it's hard to
everybody.
pin down, it's
Right.
not that good.
And we've got to get the contractor on board to give us some numbers. But the first step is Terry's got to visit the site, and he has a pretty good idea, but not a 100% clear idea of who needs them.
Mhm.
Because, every year you've got a few that are getting replaced, and some of them have not been replaced.
So another benefit of this project is that we're going to get ADA compliant sidewalks at that time, or that's the plan, so that's.
what was that?
Right.
We're going to
Accessible
make
side.
our sidewalks, at
Oh, the
the
curb cuts and
crosswalk,
things like that?
ADA compliant.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh.
yes. So something
We
we've
put it
been
off
needing to
knowing,
do.
we put it off knowing that we were gonna
Yeah.
do this because.
So in other words, like where the crosswalks are?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, and just, if I ask this, maybe, please excuse me, but, all right, so the sidewalks we have now with the bluestone, edge,
I believe
curb and
it's
all of
gonna
that,
be
that's all
replaced.
going to, okay, that's great, because sometimes.
I can't promise you,
I
I
was-
can't remember the details, but I think pretty sure it's supposed to go back the way it was. think that
I was just hearing stories about in the city of Newburgh, Central Hudson for gas lines will come in and tear the sidewalks up and they'll say, oh, we'll put it in, we'll come back and they end up leaving it just in shambles.
Well, we've had that issue even with property owners, if they have a leak, they're supposed to put it back the way it was, but you don't get exactly, you get close to what it was, but,
Right.
depends
If you're
on
doing
the-
large strips, then it's probably
Yeah.
they've got, it should be in there that, that's what they have to do. They know that they have to undo it and they gotta put it back, so.
Right.
Yeah. Frida, did you have a question?
Yeah, just about the sidewalks. Wherever there's a driveway, the sidewalk is like this and then it goes like this. It's really hard for wheelchairs, strollers, anyone that is not really ambulatory to negotiate our sidewalks because past every house, you have this angle that is pretty severe.
Yeah, but those are people's driveways. We can't.
Well, I was
We can't replace
looking,
those.
and
That's up
it
to the
looked
property.
like on the other end of town, where they raised the road and they kind of blacktop, like the driveways are less sharply
Many
angled.
people fix them. They fixed them back then when the sidewalks were put in.
Right, so
I
I'm
clearly
just-
remember that many cars were hitting the bottom when they were first put in, on their driveways, and they had to fix their driveways. That happened years ago.
So I was just wondering if there's anything
No.
in the plans to make those sidewalks easier to negotiate.
No, not anything has to do with driveways. That's not.
Not driveways, it's the sidewalk.
Yeah,
The
but it's
sidewalk.
the entrance to a
Yeah.
house through a curb cut.
Yeah.
And there really is no solution to that.
For the actual crossings, it would be the new standard, which is the sidewalk would dip down levelly on either side. The crossing itself is at street level and then come back on. So
Right.
that would be
Right.
the grants earlier.
Sure. The assessor's office, Mike's still there?
That's me now.
Okay, all right. All right, so you're gonna talk about the solar project.
Yeah.
I thought it was
We'll have to
okay.
bring you guys a cheat sheet so you.
Well,
can-
I
Yeah,
know.
so funny, the
I was-
poor assessor is like the orphan. It's
Yeah,
like,
I was.
Is it me?
I was
Is
pretty
it
sure
me?
that you got it in the new change, but I thought it would be okay to double.
Yeah, yeah, I got this, but you can keep this, okay, I'll run it.
Yeah, building department. Well, we have a new code enforcement officer, Eric Hines, has been on the job for about 3 weeks or so. And he is getting acquainted, doing well by all reports, and he's learning the office and the system, the procedures for correspondence with, code violators and how to proceed with all that, and the municity system, the software system. And he's going out and willingly going out with focus and seriousness out on the road and doing code enforcement calls and visits. So, building department, everybody's happy over there. Tom, the building inspector, was in Florida for a week. He's back now, and code enforcement in general, that's, I've been getting calls because of the liaison. There's like every town has more code violations than they can keep up with. So it becomes a matter of triage to some degree, nationwide. And I've been studying the property maintenance code of New York State. It is a book that no house could ever comply with. It's really amazing how many things that you can't have. So I realize like the code is an aspirational document, and you have to just do the best you can. So code enforcement is a function of budget. So we enforce the code to some great and high degree if we had more resources. Till then, we'll do the best we can.
And we will be trying to tackle the amending the code of the town.
Right.
So that we have some things going on really difficult properties, especially foreclosures.
Yeah.
And that's something that, we have a draft on something, so we'll be tweaking it and working on it, trying to come up with the final that we present to the town.
Well, my financials were to be in a packet today, but they weren't from Tom. So I'll get that tomorrow. But he told me revenue is 1,400 or something for January.
We can announce it next month.
Okay.
We can just say what January was next month.
Right. Planning board, there was no meeting in January, nothing on the agenda. And for tomorrow night's meeting, the February meeting, there is just a review of a cluster development proposal on Collop Road. At Parker, you know, the stone cutter, old garage, old gas station, just around the bend there on Collop. That is to be a 3-phase development, perhaps, starting with the first phase of 4 small houses.
Yeah,
It's like
tiny
a
houses,
humble,
right?
Tiny houses.
Yeah.
sort of tiny,
Yeah,
smallish. So it's
More
a,
like cabins.
Tiny.
right.
Just the property where they were looking at doing the off-road
I think it
track
was,
a couple years
50
ago.
something
Yeah.
acres, the 50 acres.
I think that's my report for tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'll do. The commission took in $1,830.88. The youth department took in $625.10. All but 50 of that came from the clothing shed. Dog control, quiet month. Police, I didn't get a report this month. I asked for it, but didn't hear back. After 2 months next month. And now the assessor, I guess I would get one. This is my first assessor liaison, so.
He's pretty good about it.
Okay, it's probably in my box, so I'll have to double that one up next time as well. Well, I'll work my way backwards. So the assessor, they were planning on, so our assessor is now shared with Marbletown. It's also shared with Rochester, actually, but they're going to be consolidating into one office, and they were planning on moving from the Rosendale wing this month, but there was a lot going on, and it's been put off until March. Yeah. Also, the assessor let us know that apropos the discussion of being contacted by solar developers, many property owners are being contacted now by solar developers. What they do is they go on Google Earth and they look for large parcels with large spaces and look at the tax parcels and then find out who you are and call you up. And the impetus for this is that the governor has set a target of generating 50% of the state's electricity from renewable sources by 2030. This target was just set in the Clean Energy Plan. And the Public Service Commission is expected to have an order out in June about exactly how that target is to be met. So there's going to be, I think what's most likely going to happen is that utilities are going to have to procure all energy suppliers are going to have to procure a certain amount, percentage of their energy. So this is creating a big market, and which is a great thing from an energy perspective, but there's concern because, first of all, they don't really know how to value, like the assessors. These are like large scale solar farms, like we're talking like 20-acre installation solar farms, and so there's a conference that he's going to be attending in April on that topic.
The biggest issue is that they're targeting farms.
Right, so I was
Okay.
going to talk about that too. So, and there are tax issues involved, and one is that developers are targeting farms because it's already open land. And farms, they have a tax exemption through, ags and markets. They have a state tax exemption.
Free, not
Yeah.
necessarily exempt.
Well,
Rates.
right. So they get, if they have $10,000 of farm income, they get this sizable break. And as it stands now, it looks like they would lose that if they lease their land for energy development. But there are issues with that. On the one hand, you don't want to take, in my opinion, you don't want to take land for food production out of food production to generate energy. But on the other hand, farms do have marginal lands that they can't really grow food on, and it would be nice for them to be able to use that, for energy production and have some supplemental income, because it's already very hard to make a living as a farmer. So these are issues that have to be, explored and worked out.
Well, I think that the most important thing is the warning that the public needs to know that if you're considering this, you need to be aware that you will be reassessed and you might not get the savings you think you're getting because your property is going to be reassessed. And
Yeah.
you will no longer have that on the portion of the property that you're putting a solar farm, you will lose your exemption for farming.
Right, and there's a question of whether it's considered commercial, which is.
Maybe taxed as a commercial space.
Right, in which case it could be
So
a higher taxes, and so
But on the other hand, if you put it on the roof of your barn, it's not going to hurt you in
No,
any way.
no,
So-
this is only the large scale, the kind of production that's just being exported onto the grid, not for consumption, and farmers and everyone can, if it's for their own use, that's fine. But there are also, I just want to mention zoning issues too, and the Ulster County Planning Department is having a zoning seminar that we should send some representation to about how to address these large-scale development, renewable development. So that's that issue.
Is that seminar going to be open to property owners?
Well, these are planning seminars that are for municipal officials generally. They're for planning boards, zoning boards, town boards that are dealing with planning issues. I don't
Don't know that answer.
I don't know if they are open to the public, but they tend
Might
not
not
to
have
be
the room.
publicized.
They might not have the room to open to
yeah.
the public if they gotta have
Yeah.
20 towns have officials go
Right.
to the meeting.
But I think that is, I don't know, maybe that's something Chris, the Environmental Commission might consider down the road for having a public workshop,
I think
information
we need to get
workshop.
the zoning board involved.
Um,
more than the environment.
Yeah, no, just for a public information workshop, but yeah. But yes, I think we have to look at the zoning. I think that's something.
I want to see that getting the zoning board member.
our towns have.
Is the meeting this week?
And planning board.
So do you have an email with that info?
I haven't gotten, did you get the mailing yet? I don't think the mailing has gone out yet.
Might come in-
Dennis
might
Doyle
expect some-
just mentioned it to me, so, but when it does come,
You could talk
know.
to the assessor, he knows a lot about what's going on.
Great.
about the planning seminar, Ulster County Planning Board.
I did just give something to Joyce, I can't remember if it was planning or what.
It's probably both.
Right.
It's a
I
planning
did,
and
and I
zoning
forwarded
issue.
her the email, but I can keep, I still have it, forward it.
Okay, Youth Commission, there wasn't a quorum this month, but there was a discussion. We're going to shortly be making a motion to accept Ernest Papice's resignation. Ernest has been an incredible asset to our youth program. He was hired last summer and has done so much to really revitalize the program, take it in some interesting new directions, and just kind of change the spirit and the culture. And I think he's put a lot of things in motion that are really great. He's a young, smart kid who got offered a job that he couldn't resist. So we're very sad that he is going to be moving on. February 22nd, I believe, is his last day. But that was sort of more of an informal discussion of that transition. But you know, we're all very pleased about what he has put in place, what he started, and you know, we expect it will continue under new leadership. So that's it for you. The Rec Commission. The Rec Commission had a guest speaker. Teresa Gittin came with a proposal to the Rec Commission to dedicate the basketball courts to her son, who was a graduate of Rosendale Valley, who passed away some years ago. Unfortunately, he was a contemporary of Jeff Booz, who's on the Rec Commission, and so it was great to hear his recollections of this young man as well. But his name is Gerald Neal, and he played basketball like every single day. Everyone knew him, but he was also, by accounts, an incredibly generous, giving, really model young man. And so we discussed that, the proposal. Bree had brought up the good point of getting sort of clarity on the process for dedicating a facility. I had suggested integrating it with, we've been talking on the Rec Commission's to-do list or wish list has been to refurbish the basketball courts, and they're in need of repainting and repair, so kind of, potentially integrating that into, a single project. And so they had passed a motion in support of naming the basketball court in his memory, and set up a subcommittee to work on it. They also, there is a scholarship in his name that's presented annually at Rosendale Valley High School as well. So that's that news. And it would be wonderful. So the Rec Commission, we talked about it last month, but we have a chamber member here. We are very grateful for the contribution of the chamber of 18,000. Is that?
Oh,
You're going to talk
Yeah,
about
we're
it.
not- we're
Oh,
gonna
sorry,
talk.
I didn't even know. All right,
It's on the agenda.
all right. I'm going to mum's the word then. Okay, let's see what else. The 50 bricks, pool bricks, are done and have been delivered. So, and that'll be great.
We're
We'll
still
soon install them.
doing bricks though,
Mhm.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
still selling bricks. I still have to get my brick. And that's about it for the Rec Commission. And I think that's pretty much wraps up my report. We have a new deputy dog control officer, and she's doing great.
Found your paperwork?
Yeah, I found my paperwork. The
Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have one more thing. The Rosendale Democratic Committee has, I have a check that I'm going to give to you, I suppose. It's a contribution by the Rosendale Democratic Committee to pay for new tablecloths at the rec center. And that was the idea, and the force behind this was Barbara Cambino, but we'd like to present that.
Very nice. Thank you.
Or not we, they, but I'm just the bearer of the check.
Which
Okay.
tablecloths are we talking about?
The table covers for, all- the ones that are,
Those are done by the Suffolk County. The ones that are there now.
I don't know, they talked to Tara about it. They've already
Yeah,
coordinated with
there's an
Tara.
undercloth that
Yeah.
that's money's for. And then there's a seasonal
Well,
overcloth.
we're gonna be moving those tables out and
Probably.
putting the lighter weight tables in that are different. We're not leaving those brown tables in there because they're too hard on, they'll.
It might be for the
floor.
season.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's good, you know, we just,
Weigh about
Right.
50
they weigh
pounds.
too much, I don't.
Yeah, I give a slide.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've already talked to Bob about, setting it up, that the tables that are at the other, at the place up by the highways office,
Yeah,
that
sure.
room that we,
Yep.
those tables come down, they're lightweight tables,
Oh.
and those tables go up.
Oh,
So that
okay.
because we don't want to put those tables on the floor.
Right, the new floor and scratch it up, yeah.
And put dents in them.
Right.
aren't
you
they
know.
for the tablecloths that are used for events, this money?
Well, they can use
But it could be that.
Whatever
It
the
could be
replacement
for
tables are.
seasonal.
Well, you can-
It's
Right-
a
right now
donation
they're,
that I'm sure will be used, but she had talked to Tara, they had talked to Tara about
Alright.
it,
So it
so
must be a
they
plan
have a
for the-
plan.
Okay.
Tablecloth.
A plan for the new plan.
The revenue for January for the building department was $2,879, about average for January, and for the planning board was $50. Also, I just wanted to say, I forgot to mention, the work has continued because we've had a mild winter, so the transitional developers and transitional builders rather, and mainline pools have continued work on the pump, new concrete, the water system and the sand filter. And it got pressure tested yesterday, or today, and is so approved for backfilling around that. And the drainage, the overall drainage system, they continued work on that, and that met the pressure tests so far, or they may have one more pressure test because they haven't quite tied the two drain lines together to run to the stream, but the warm winter has made for more progress in the pool than expected. There's a little bit of focus from the building department on paying attention now to the bathhouse because we have revenue.
I signed the paperwork for the uprising yesterday.
Oh, very good.
So that project's starting.
Right.
And our engineers, the same engineers.
Yeah.
There was,
Good.
right,
Our engineers will be, the same engineers will be overseeing the project. We'll have to be paying them for that work.
Right.
But they've done so much of it already because they designed the bathhouse beforehand. But the actual, hiring of whoever has to do it, they'll oversee that.
Yeah.
Just
There,
Yeah.
there was some discussion at the rec commission about the bathhouse. There was overall discussion about staffing and cleaning during the, pool hours and. but,
Typically, it's done by the lifeguard staffing.
Right, so there were questions about whether the showers were available. They just were interested in the
I'm not sure,
configuration.
what's the question?
Bree, there was a discussion about the bathhouse and,
Tara has the plans, so she can bring them to the meeting.
right. Okay.
What was
Well,
the
maybe-
question? I'm sorry.
There seemed to be uncertainty about the bathhouse, how it was going to be set up, what was going to be available to people around the
You
clock
mean
versus
after,
pool hours, yeah.
There's the addition that's being put on the bathhouse is the area that will be left for the public to use after hours. And that is pretty much a toilet, handicap toilet, a shower, and lockers.
So it does include showers.
Yes. And that is also the entrance to when the pool's open for the buying tickets and all that. So
Mhm.
what we have to decide is how we want to how we want to manage that. You know, do we want to have, you know, have somebody have to put $1 in before they go in or something like that, so that we're not